All right, guys, got a pretty awesome guest on this episode today. His name is TJ White. He's another member of the DM Alliance, and I'm going to let him kind of run with it here, but real brief. He's got a really awesome journey that started at about 19 in the Army, which eventually led to some security consulting. I believe you mentioned you had about 7 deployments to Iraq and the Middle East. And now you've kind of transitioned. You've gone to investment real estate, and you have your company, Wooby Hoody, which is an apparel business. I'm actually wearing one of his shirts here right now. So TJ, maybe for those of you who don't have an introduction to you yet or haven't come across your social media, let them know about your journey kind of a little bit deeper from where you started to where you are now.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for having me on here. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I grew up in Southeast Kansas. Just kind of normal kid, getting in trouble a lot, I guess. And by 17, I was on like juvenile diversion. I got off that 19. The day I got off it, I went and signed up for the Army. Left. I got stationed at 2nd Ranger Battalion. Ended up doing 7 combat deployments with them out of Fort Lewis. After that, I got out in 2012. I started doing security work overseas. Did that for about 10 years. And then there was about, I think, I don't know, 27 or some more deployments. And then 2021, I came home and got into real estate. I bought my first rental, which was the house next door to where I was living at the time. And I would just go over there and work on that house every day, and got it fixed up, got it rented. Started getting clever, found a way to get our second rental. So we bought another house, got our second rental. Been running Wooby Hoodie the whole time while we were doing all that. Started that in, I think, 2018, the end of 2018, early 2019. And we've just been growing it and building it and coming up with new ideas and putting in new pieces and new players. And yeah, and here we are now. The Wobby Hoodie's doing better than ever. Real estate's doing great. And yeah, we're just looking to see how high we can go now.
That's awesome. So one thing you stood out real quick, it's actually pretty funny because it kind of seems a little parallel to what I did. So your first investment real estate property was next door to you? Like, was it actually right next door, or was it just on the same street?
No, literally the house next door.
How did you pull that off? You had a little bit of tips that the neighbors were moving out and you were able to make a nice arrangement, or was this something that was listed on market?
No, so I got to know him pretty well. I was helping them out with a bunch of stuff around the house, and the lady that was living there moved out, and the owners didn't know what they were going to do with it, especially through the winter. And I had just started looking for a rental, and I mean, it was a total just long shot. I sent the lady a message, was like, hey, if you're ever interested in selling, let me know. I'd be interested in buying, and didn't talk numbers, nothing, just threw it out there. And then I just went back to work, kept looking for another property I could find. And it took about 2 weeks, and she wrote me back and she's like, yeah, we're interested in selling.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and was this like a fix and flip, or is this a rental that you have now?
It's a rental that we still have now. Yeah. It
awesome,
took about 1 month. I had a little bit of help fixing it up, but it was pretty much me over there for about 16 hours a day, every day, just cruising along, just knocking it out. And yeah, literally the last day we were getting ready to go to Costa Rica to visit my wife's family. I didn't even sleep the last day. I was over there working all day. She had packed the bag. The person who was renting it showed up to pay the deposit and everything. And I think we signed all the paperwork at about 2 a.m, loaded the car up, drove straight to the airport. And yeah.
That's great. Yeah. So yeah, with me, so I had just bought, it was probably within 6 months, 8 months, maybe, of us moving in our house. And I was keeping an eye on the neighborhood just to see what was going on, how prices were. And I saw this house for 6 months plus on the market. And I watched it go price drop, like every single month. I just watched it drop and drop and drop. And I was like, all right, I got to see what's going on with this property. So we finally went there. The owners had already moved out of state. They had to sell immediately, and no one was buying it because they unfortunately had like a disabled kid. So the first floor, all the bedrooms had ramps to go from room to bathroom to room. And most people didn't know what to do with it because it was going to be a complete renovation almost to like get the flooring as it should. And no one wanted to take this project on. But lucky for me, my cousin was a GC and he saw the bigger picture and was like, oh man, we can come in here, we could do this, we can smooth this out, we can raise the flooring up in this room so that way it's all level, put a wall up, divide this bathroom from the living room space, make it a master bath. And I was like, all right, now I see what you see. No one else saw the potential in the place. So I bought it and then turned it into a 2-year rental and eventually sold it a year ago because the market popped off significantly. So for me, I wanted to go ahead, sell, take the cash now instead of taking a small monthly drip on the rent. But yeah, it's funny because that was in my neighborhood too. So it wasn't next door like yours, but it was in the same neighborhood.
Yeah. It was pretty funny just waking up like, all right, I'm going to work, and just walk out the front door over to the house next door and walk in there.
That's what I would do when I was so when I was done working out and I'd go for a walk or a jog around the neighborhood or something, like they would text me the first of the month, say, hey Anthony, I got the rent check. I would just walk over to collect it. So it was so easy. I built a great relationship. They were awesome people. It was, for me, it was an awesome entry into investment real estate, and it sounds like it was the same for you.
Yep, absolutely.
So let's kick it back because I'm kind of interested about the deployments and stuff that you went through. To me, it aligns with some of the stuff that I know you have coming up that we can get into as well in terms of mindset. Like, what did it take mentally just to go through the trainings, the deployments, maybe situations that you encountered over there that the average person wouldn't encounter? Like, how did that strengthen the mindset to kind of where you are today?
Man, it's always, you're always paying your dues, and it's just, every day you get up, there's work to be done, and it's non-negotiable work. You have to get up, you have to do these things, and you just get used to it. You build these habits out of discipline, and just carrying that discipline through. Carrying it through to day-to-day life now, but even back then when I was still in, like, it's a non-negotiable. You have to get up, you have to do these things, you have to be disciplined with all this stuff, because when you're out there, you're deployed, you're doing whatever, that's where it all pays off. That's where all that work you put in really pays off. It's an investment. You're literally investing in your future. You put all this work in, your physical shape, your hard skills, your soft skills, like just all this stuff, you're investing in it daily. So when you get there and it's time to, pay your dues, like, okay, yep, I got it. I've made these investments. I can do that now. And yeah, it's absolutely carried over into everything else that I've been doing since then. And the more I kind of go back and, draw from these experiences that I have in my life, the more that I'm getting out of them, the more I'm seeing them from different perspectives. And, it's helping me negotiate different things that I'm doing now that, it's hard when you have one set of skills and then you go over to, like real estate, for example. I've never done any of this before, but just having this ability of like, I know I can sit down, be disciplined, figure this out, put the work in, and make it happen. Okay, so now I can do real estate too,
So I know that you're pretty into Jiu Jitsu, like similar to how I am with my dedication in the gym. Like, I'm very understanding that you have to be dedicated, you have to do everything with consistency, and those efforts will eventually compound themselves. And maybe you steal a little bit of that from jujitsu, like I do in the gym, to be better in business and be better as an overall person. But I feel like it must have been 10x with what was instilled in you being in the Army Am I wrong with that, or like was it just a
No,
whole other level of transformation that occurs?
no, it's no, I think you're spot on with it, because it's like, you know, getting up every day and challenging yourself, like what you do in the gym, me still going to Jiu Jitsu now, you're just, it's character development. You're building positive habits that are reflected everywhere else in your life. So by you being disciplined in the gym and you getting up and going every single day, and you're punishing yourself, like it's painful. It's not relaxing and eating cupcakes on the couch and watching TV. It's something painful that you put yourself through every day. And this is definitely a more extreme version of that. So you're putting yourself through this extreme amount of learning, pain, discomfort, and you're applying yourself the whole time and extracting as much information as you can get out of it. So it's just like a compressed, it's a compressed learning cycle. You know, you're just in there and you're learning through muscle memory, you're learning through memory, you're learning, your body's learning, like all these different things. You're building calluses, you're building strength in the right places to do all these different things. And yeah, so it's just a super compressed workout essentially. It's just yeah, it's just compressed. You're getting so much more out of it because it's so much more intense, I guess. And to be able to do, you know, the gym or jujitsu now, it's just carrying on that same theme, just not to the same extreme.
Got it, got it. And I know that you're like couple highlights so that way you guys know. So TJ has not only a book but also a coaching that's going to be coming up, which you can dive into that later if you want, but just like a precursor to that, like is there any specific mission that you were on, deployment, if you were deployed 7 times, is there any one in particular that like really stands out, that kind of like made you who you are today? Like what's like one really big lesson that's the average person can take from that experience?
So I would say specifically like one incident. There were several one incidents. So just kind of balling them all up into, you know, my time while I was in. Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I learned it, I forgot it, and I had to relearn it, was just the, man, keep going. Because I mean, there was too many close calls, there was too many bad nights, there was too many just incidents that would happen. And I see it now, just that compare and contrasting of, you know, you running into obstacles, you're running into a bad incident, whatever it may be. And a lot of people will just sit down and like, well, I guess this isn't for me. You know, I guess I'm not supposed to be doing this. Otherwise, it would have just worked out. Nothing ever works out, ever. Like, you know, I can't remember how that saying goes, but you know, like your best laid plan is, I'm forgetting it. Something like, as soon as the bullet starts flying, your plan goes to shit. You know, it's not going to work anymore. And that's exactly how it is. Like you can plan everything out and have every single little detail covered, and then it's like something is going to go wrong. Something is going to hit. It's going to crash your plan. You're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to come up with a new plan. You're going to have to redesign your plan on the fly while you're still working on this. And yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that I took out of all this was, you know, be able to adapt, be able to improvise, come up with a new plan on the fly. Just don't stop. You know, you can't just stop and sit down and say, well, maybe this isn't for me.
Got it. Okay. That's awesome information there. While we're on the topic, before we switch over though, about kind of your Army history, I did have one. To me, I think it's a pretty important question, and maybe something that you haven't thought about before. So with my business, for example, we deal with people, as you know, who have come from a personal injury lawsuit,
Mhm.
or, you know, we've also dealt with people who have an unfortunate wrongful death that has occurred in their family. And either one, it can be instant, it can be tragic, and it could be something that really affects not only you physically if you were involved in an injury, but if you're involved on the wrongful death, something psychologically, right?
Yeah.
So being in the state that you were in, you mentioned having a bunch of close calls, and maybe you even, have some type of not even personal experience, but maybe somebody close to you has dealt with this type of situation. What advice would you have to build that, I guess, not only mental character, but to proceed still being the best version of yourself if you were involved in a wrongful death or a personal injury?
I would say do the work. Do the work to fix it. Absolutely. It's something. I was very fortunate. I don't have any Purple Hearts. I was never seriously injured in combat or anything like that. I got friends that were, and it's a process. And the sooner you start the process, I think backing up a little bit, the sooner you accept the process and then begin it, the sooner your path to recovery gets better. You would see some people who, and it's natural. You want to go through this stage of denial. Like you don't feel whole, and I think the sooner you're like, okay, yes, this is what happened. I can accept this. I can move forward. I can start putting in the work and start figuring this out again. It's better than to sit down and go through the whole grief process and try to just deny it. You have to do the work, and it's painful and it's hard, but you have to do the work.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't make it easier by any means, but at the same time, it's an important topic, and if anybody can take some value from that, at least, I thought that the question was at least worth posing. So let's fast forward a little bit to Wooby Hoodie now. So how did you, like, first off, I know the name Wooby Hoodie. People may not know what a Wooby is. So maybe you can explain what a Wooby is and how you came up with the name and a little bit of the growth that you've seen year after year from starting the business.
Yeah. So the Wooby is the poncho liner from the military. So it's a little blanket that you get issued that you shove it in the bottom of your rucksack. You take it with you everywhere. When you're cold, wet, hungry, tired, just absolutely miserable, you pull this thing out and you wrap up in it and you feel better like that. So it's very, very sentimental to everybody that was in, because like it's just always there. And so I was hanging out with a buddy and we wanted one. And so we got online, we started looking for them. We started Googling, we searched Amazon, we searched everywhere. I couldn't find one. So it took me a couple days and I decided like, yeah, this is something I should start doing. Cause if I want one and he wants one, there's probably other guys that want one. So just started doing the research and figured out how we could get them, built a website and just started building it. And that was, I think we started in 2018, at the end of 2018, 2019, we were live. 2020, COVID happened, but we also had our boys. We had 2 twin boys. So that was awesome, but that put a huge damper on the business. So 2020 to 2021, we weren't really doing anything. And then we kind of got our feet back under us of, I was home now after July of 21. I was home now. She was doing better with the boys. They were getting a little older. Things were getting a little easier. We had figured out our system. So we started putting more back into Wooby Hoodie. And yeah, I mean, it's just been growing every single year. It's been taking off. We're having a blast with it now.
Awesome. No, you guys have been coming out with some good designs. That's why I had to show some support with the current shirt that I'm wearing, the Domestic Patriot.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem. So now that you've had 2018, we're in 2023, it sounds like 4 going on your 5th year of business. What have been some of the main takeaways? Where do you need to be in order to start a business? And what have you kind of learned along the way in order to start growing this thing outside of just yourself?
I think, just to start it, it was, we were kind of talking about it beforehand a little bit, but just starting it, like I didn't put a lot of thought into it. It was just, I want to do this. I bet there's other people that want these too. And so I just started doing it. and that was it. And it was just like figuring things out along the way. I call it, your 25-meter targets. You're just, okay, this is where I'm at. What is right in front of me? What's right in front of me that's blocking me or stopping me right now? Okay, figure that out. And you kind of move forward, and it's like, okay, what's right in front of me now? And you figure that out, and just kept going with it. And I mean, to grow it, it's been a lot of, figuring out step by step. And we started to hit a friction point to where we had to hire somebody. We had to start bringing in other people. And it was a pretty natural transition, I think, for us. I mean, we have Mark talking about it, a lot in our calls. And for us, we just kind of hit that obvious point of, okay, we can't do all this anymore. So we started hiring people to help us out, and yeah, we're just growing. Everything that we've done has just been, the timing's been right, and not right. We're probably behind the curve a little bit. We should have did it sooner, but it just worked out for us. We're getting that resistance, and it's like, okay, time to solve this problem.
No, I mean, I think I just posted about it this morning, actually, like a clip of a podcast that I was on, where I mentioned one of the books that I loved from the beginning was referenced by Mark Evans. It was called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan.
Yeah.
And I had learned the same things, because
Yeah.
when you first get started, if you don't have like big money behind you, you're not raising capital, and you're just getting started from ground zero saying, all right, this is what I want to do. Let's go.
Yeah.
You're a solopreneur from the beginning, and you have a job, and you're your own boss. And eventually you get to the point where you start, all right, slowly building that capital up, going. You can't figure out how you're going to do everything. You have to start figuring out who can help you. So the fact that you're now hiring and starting to scale, to grow your business, that it's the same track that I was on.
Yeah. And I think it shows like probably how everybody starts, but I wanted to do it all when I started. Like, I wanted to build a website, I wanted to manage it, I wanted to do everything. And you talk with guys that are way more experienced and have run a lot more businesses, bigger businesses. They're like, you can't. You have to accept this and start plugging the right person in, because you're not going to be able to do it all. And that was just kind of like an aha moment we had of, yeah, that makes sense. We're not going to be able to do all this. It just gets overwhelming. It's stressful. It's not fun anymore. And then, as Mark says, you pull this one lever. Okay, now all these problems are fixed. You got some breathing room. Like, okay, now I can focus my attention over here, which is going to be 10 times more useful than me trying to do all these little things.
Yep, 100%. But I was the same. Like, I was like, all right, sales, marketing, accounting, you name it, database, data input. Like, I was doing everything instead of handing off control. But I look back at it, and it's like, at the same token, those were things that I needed to know, because if I was going to oversee those operations, I felt I still needed to know about that position and that skill set some level. But yeah, you definitely get to the point where you have to hand off. Even if you don't think that person can do as good a job as you, it frees up your time to work on the business instead of in the business, and it's a necessary step.
Yeah. And even if that person can't do as good a job as you can, they're going to figure it out. They're going to learn, they're going to get better at it, which in turn, you can start figuring out other things, getting better at other things that are going to be way more useful for you.
Exactly. Because you're, like you said, if your time was 10x better spent working on some other opportunity for your business, instead of doing that small task, which you probably shouldn't have been doing to begin with.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if a mistake was made and there's a little bit of a learning curve, because you're still 10xing your business with what you're doing now. So yeah, it's a valuable lesson.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about the book that you have coming out, and this coaching group that you're going to be offering, or even if it's not a group per se, about the coaching that you are about to offer.
Okay. Yeah. So the book is just kind of like, I wanted to share my story of this year when I finished contracting, when I made this switch over into full-time entrepreneur, and you know, really diving into it and putting everything on the line, honestly. Because so a little backstory, you know, when you're in the military, a big part of that culture is drinking, and it's how you bond, it's how you blow off steam, it's how you do all these different things, and it sticks with you. And it definitely stuck with me. I got out, I was still drinking a lot, and I noticed that it had turned, it wasn't so much social anymore. It was more of a habit, a daily habit. And I had to, I had, I had this moment where I was like, you know what, I need to stop this. And it was after my kids were born. Yeah, that I saw the way they were looking at me one morning. I passed out on the floor and woke up, and they were looking down at me, and I was just like, no, this is not the father I want to be. This is not the dad I want to be. So I made a promise to myself that morning. I said, you know what, I'm done. I'm doing 365 days. I'm not going to drink at all. I'm only going to focus on, you know, positive, personal, professional development, growth. Like, I want to see what I can do with my business. I want to see how much better I can make myself, and not listen to all this negative stuff all the time. You know, the news and all this, you know, all the garbage that I was listening to, that most people listen to every day and don't think twice about it. So I cut all that stuff out, quit drinking, and I was about 45 days into my next trip over at work, and I got sent home because I didn't want to go with the mandate. So got sent home, and that's when I was kind of like, you know, damn, I don't know what we're gonna do. And that's when we started looking for rental properties. I mean, I was trying all sorts of stuff, trying to find something. And I remember telling myself too, I was like, I'll go be a barista if I have to. Like, I'll go be a bar back somewhere. I'll be filling up ice coolers and handing out beers or whatever, you know, like, I am not going to fail. And so I think that helped, because I never hit that point where I had to go do this stuff, but I was 100% ready and willing to do that. But yeah, we found that house, and you know, that first month, that was pretty much all our savings. That was everything we had went into that. And you know, we had that deadline because we already had the trip booked to go see my wife's family. And so we had that deadline, and that was like just a rush to get all that done. Incredibly stressful. And yeah, like, there went all our money, and we made that work. And then after that, it was just kind of like, you know, what do we do next? What do we do next? And the book's just about that whole year of just solving these problems and the things that I had to do to get to that next level, to get that breathing room again, to where we were comfortable, and definitely not as comfortable as we were where we want to be, but you know,
Yeah.
we got that breathing room again. So yeah, I think the book's going to be great, and it's all generally based on, you know, I identified a big problem with myself, which was my alcohol, and as soon as I did that, my life absolutely changed. Pretty much got picked up and slammed on my head 45 days after I started it, and then, you know, it was just kind of, hey, pick yourself back up, you know, keep going, and that's what we did.
And you didn't go back after those 45 days, right? You, like, that was just a big obstacle that you had to overcome on that journey to
Yeah,
a full year alcohol free. Like, you didn't look back and have
yeah.
one or two drinks to calm the nerves, overcome the stress. You're just, nope, cold turkey.
I had a very long flight home to think about it too, and I was like, man, I think everyone would understand if I, you know, didn't keep my word, and you know, broke my promise to myself and went and had a drink, because this is obviously like life-changing news. You know,
Yeah.
nobody wants to hear it. And I thought about it. I can't lie about that. I definitely thought about it, but I couldn't break my word to myself. So I
Well, I
did.
mean, I think
And that
I think
was
that right there is one of the most important lessons that anybody can learn. If you can't keep a promise to yourself, how are you going to keep a promise to other people?
exactly. Yeah. And that was, let's see, that was Memorial Day 2021 is when I started, and I haven't had a drink since.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
I'm a little curious too. So was the whole idea when you mentioned potentially, of course, you never had to do it, but the barista or the bar back or the bartender, like that whole situation, was that all in your pursuit of not only investment real estate, but also Wooby Hoodie? Like you were just willing to do anything and everything to pay the bills so that way you can accomplish your dream of having your own business?
So we were still working Wooby Hoodie for sure. But it wasn't, I mean, it wasn't paying our bills by any means.
Okay.
And that was like, we really need to focus on this so we can start growing it and have it be solid income for us. And then the whole barista bar back, whatever it was, that was like keep the lights on,
Okay.
feed my kids. Like it was at that point to where, yeah, I wasn't messing around at all. It was, this has to work. And then we got that house and it's like, okay, here's your one chance, what are you gonna do? And it's, this has to work. And yeah, we poured everything into it. It was, like I said, 16, 18-hour days, like closing up shop at 3 a.m. and walking home and just falling asleep in my work clothes and get back up and just walk next door and
Hell of a
keep going.
story, man.
Yeah,
More power to you. I respect the hell out of it. I think everybody's going to respect the story where you're working your ass off that hard to get to where you are now. So,
thank you.
do you have a title for the book yet, or is it something that's still in the works?
It's still in the works. So
Okay.
I was talking with Mike. I have a title that I like that I sent him. He said he'll work with it. He'll get some more, and we'll decide on one before we do the final copy.
All right. Well, if you don't follow TJ already, go follow him so that way when he announces the book release, you're first person to know about it. And shout out Mike Fallett for
Yeah.
helping TJ out on the book. Well, book sounds like it's going to be incredible. I'm definitely going to be getting a copy. What about the coaching now? I know coaching is something else that you have to look forward to outside of the book. Who is that geared towards?
So with the whole coaching thing, I'm really trying to take what I've learned, all my experiences, all this stuff we went through, the good, the bad, the ugly, and find that person who's like in that same spot that I was, that just, I refuse to fail. They know there's something more out there. They just don't have that direction, or maybe they've started and they just need a little bit more guidance. But that person who wants that upward trajectory and just hasn't quite figured out how to go about it. That's really who I'm gearing this towards.
Other veterans or anybody in general that's going through a hard time that wants to just come out the other side a better individual?
I would say anybody, absolutely anybody, guys, gals, veterans, it doesn't matter. I think it might be more veteran friendly, just, sense of humor, how we talk, all that, but I'm definitely not excluding anyone. So
All right. Well, and that's something that's going to be coming out when next couple months.
yeah, I think so. A month or
All right,
two.
we'll be keeping an eye out for you unleashing that program too. So one of the questions that I kind of started asking people that come on the channel with me, I like to have them put themselves in a potential customer of mine's shoes. So knowing what we offer with structured settlement funding, I'm curious your take. If you would have came out of the army, or you're in the situation you are now, regardless of the situation, knowing what you know, would you take $150,000 cash in hand right now as a lump sum, or would you prefer to have, let's just say, 300,000 spread out over a 20 to 25-year term?
Oh, knowing what I know now, yeah, I would probably take that and just invest it. I would be buying real estate. I would take that and just start multiplying it. It's too easy. It's yeah, almost a no-brainer, I think.
What would be your goal with the real estate in comparison to like a 20 or 25-year term annuity? Like why real estate?
Because I think you could do the exact same with it, and you could hit that, what'd you say it was, 300,000? You could hit that faster. You could hit it way faster. It would be, yeah, it'd be easy. You take it, reinvest it, get going instead of having that slow drip like what you were saying earlier.
Yeah, man, I love it. I'm with you because with real estate, what do you have? You kind of have the best of a couple different worlds. You get cash flow through rent. So if you are looking for monthly income or monthly distributions, that's definitely something that real estate offers.
Mm-hmm.
And
Equity.
the one thing that these policies don't offer is the appreciation side of
Yeah.
it. So when you have a tangible asset that has the ability to go up with the market, I mean, just look at what the last couple of years have done nationwide. I mean, you have
Yeah.
markets that are 50 to 100% up.
And you're writing off depreciation as you go and still getting equity, and yeah.
Phenomenal. Well, what other kind of closing remarks do you have? Is there any other lessons that you wanted to share?
Man, I think for me right now, my big thing is just keep getting up every day, keep working on being a better person, personally, professionally, just keep building on who you are, what you want to be, where you want to go. Because man, I mean, right now you see it if you're looking for it. If you're not looking for it and you're looking for something else, you'll never see it. But man, there's people who are starting businesses and crushing it. There's people who are buying their dream homes, living their absolute dream life. And it's I think the American dream is alive and well. It's hard right now, but man, getting up and putting in the work every day, you cannot fail.
I love it, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me here for about an hour today. But if there's anything that you need, don't hesitate to reach out. But thanks again, TJ. Really appreciate it. Where can people follow you, connect with you if they wanted to reach out, whether it be about your coaching or if they just want to follow along on social? How can they connect with you?
Instagram, I'm at TJ White RGR. And then you can also follow our Wooby Hoodie page. There's, we post a bunch of funny stuff. There's pictures of our family and everything. That's at Wooby Hoodie, WOOBYHOODY.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks again, man.
Thank you.